Welcome to one more class, and today we'll be doing exercises 413 and 414. These exercises have the objective of preparing you to be able to suggest to the decision maker the best mode and carrier for your supply chain. We will use a simple model where we will have four types of costs. The first one, the transportation cost, is given by the transportation rate and the amounts of goods to be transported. The second one, the in-transit inventory. Don't forget that the goods that are in transit also have value and you cannot ignore them. Imagine a cargo ship full of products. That value is certainly something to take into account. You can calculate it by multiplying the holding rate by the value of each unit, the transit time, and the demand. You must be careful and have all the units coherent. In this case, we have an annual holding cost, but the traveling time in days. So the best option is to divide the annual holding cost by the number of days in a year. The third type of cost is the source inventory. This is assumed to be the value of goods prior to any movement in the supply chain. So it will consider the holding cost, the amount of each item, and the average inventory present. Finally, we have the destination inventory. This cost is very similar to the inventory cost in factories. However, in this case, the value of goods has increased due to the cost of transportation. So the value of goods in the second echelon of the supply chain is given by the value of items added the cost of shipping multiplied by the holding fee and quantity stored. So let's begin exercise 413. The first thing we want to do is to know what we want. So we want to identify the option that reduces the cost the most. We also want to compare the different options. Here we have the most important information regarding this exercise. I'll let it here for a few seconds, but for the sake of you getting used to this type of exercises, please also read the full exercise in the handout provided in Phoenix. Using Excel, we will now starting to begin our exercise. The first thing is then to introduce all the information we had identified earlier. So we want to identify the demand, the inventory carrying cost, and also our average inventory present in the factory and in the warehouses. We also know the value of each unit. So now we'll list everything we know about each of the options. We have rail, piggyback, truck, and air. We'll also have two important things. That is the delta, which is the difference between what we have now and what we have for each option. And then the factor, which is the relative difference between the current situation and the time needed for shipment for each of the options. We can go and calculate some of the values that we don't have already. First is the value at the second warehouse. And how do we do that? We just sum C and R, and so we'll go find in our Excel sheet the value for that. We can calculate the shipment size since we have the demand and we have the shipments per year for each of the options. Finally, we can calculate some costs. We will start by presenting the name of that cost and then the formula. All the formulas we already discussed in the beginning of this video. So the transportation cost is just R&D. Then we have in-transit inventory. Don't forget to divide the annual holding cost by the number of days per year. Then we will have the plant inventory. And finally, we will have the warehouse inventory. As usual, you will have some exercises to do. You can find the link in the description of this video or in Phoenix webpage.